What's up guys, Pi here, doing something a little bit different on the channel today. I'm doing an unboxing and first thoughts video on the Gossamer Gear DCF The One. This is a tent that a lot of people have been pretty excited about, myself included, so let's open up the package. First of all is the this is the 3/8 inch sleeping mattress. I am not a huge fan of foam mattresses, but in the winter time it is really nice to have a foam mattress to put under my sleeping pad. Okay, this is one of their new products as well. This is the feed bag, which is something that you attach to your shoulder strap pocket, and you can put snacks in there. I guess you can put a water bottle in there as well. They also sent me the updated version of the Gorilla, which I believe was a 45 litre pack originally, and now I think they've moved it up to a 50, or was it a 40 and now it's a 50? I think it was a 40 and now a 50. I use this pack a good bit, at least the older versions of it. I used it on the Sierra trip in 2019, so that will also be getting put to use this year. And then the thing that I'm most excited about is the One, the DCF One, and it is incredibly light. If you watched my video a few weeks ago where I reviewed the Z-Packs Ultraplex, that is an outstanding tent, but in that review I mentioned the DCF One, and this, immediately the first thing I noticed is how much smaller this packs down. Obviously, yeah, they're using a combination of DCF and Sil-Nylon, but yeah, what does that say? DCF One Sample A. Stakes, question mark. I can tell there's stakes in there. So let me get a night out in the woods with it and we will be back. Alright, so I just got back from a quick overnight with a couple of friends on the outskirts of Helsinki. We hiked across the sea to a small island and spent the night there. Obviously in less than ideal conditions. This isn't the sort of tent I would normally take on a trip like this. I would normally be carrying a freestanding winter 4-season tent, but I really wanted to put the tent to the test and see how it held up in those conditions, and it did really, really well. The one thing that I had to contend with is stake choice, because I carried with me snow stakes as well as just regular normal stakes that I would carry on a 3-season trip. We have had a lot of snow here in Helsinki. There's, you know, probably half a meter kind of sitting around, but because of where we were, there was a lot of wind, and so there wasn't a thick layering of snow on the ground, and also it wasn't compacted, so the snow stakes were never going to work, and I had to use the regular stakes that I would normally use, but then the ground is frozen solid. Nighttime temperatures for us were -15 Celsius, so that's like 5 Fahrenheit, and so it was very difficult to get stakes in the ground. I had to pound them in with a rock, and I even broke one or two. That being said, we had a good amount of wind during the night and it held up perfectly well, no issues whatsoever. 3-season conditions with strong winds, I have no issues recommending it. And I do have a lot of experience with the Sil Poly version. I used that on the CDT, I used it for the majority of the time on our 2019 Sierra trip, and the DCF version there's no surprises here. It's lighter by 2.4 ounces. It doesn't pack down quite as small as the Sil-Nylon version. Obviously it's a little bit more bulky, but if you saw my video a couple of weeks ago where I reviewed the Z-Packs Ultraplex, you'll know that my biggest complaint about that tent was the packed down size, and here we have the two side by side as a comparison. It's about half the size of the Ultraplex, roughly. I would call it about half the size, so it does pack down very small. Obviously you're not going to have the same livable space as the Ultraplex. The Ultraplex is listed as being suitable for hikers up to 6'6". I am only 5'11", so I don't really feel like I need all of that space, and then the One really ticks the box for me. But if you are a taller person, then definitely consider the Ultraplex. Livable space. Obviously on this trip, it's a full-on winter trip. I was using a foam sleeping pad as well as an inflatable sleeping pad, as well as the Thermarest Polar Ranger, which is a expedition weight sleeping bag able to go down to temperatures of -30 or -20 Fahrenheit. So that thing's big and bulky, but necessary on a trip like this. And of course, yeah, I was touching the toe end and the foot end a little bit, but in 3-season conditions where, you know, you're carrying a quilt or a sleeping bag rated to like 20 Fahrenheit, I don't think you'd really have that issue. Condensation, of course, there is a little bit of condensation on all these single wall trekking pole style tents. And on this trip, it froze, of course, because the temperatures were so cold. It's actually a preferable kind of situation because when that condensation freezes, it doesn't make your sleeping bag wet. Whereas in 3-season conditions, the water is, you know, still a liquid. And so you do run into that a little bit where the foot end or the head end of your sleeping bag or quilt might get a little bit damp, but no real surprises there. There is pretty good ventilation. It's just something that you kind of have to accept when you use a shelter like this. I used the pole set that Gossamer Gear sells, that's specifically designed to be used with the 1 or the 2. It works really well. I would personally prefer if they were a little bit taller, which would enable you to pitch the tent slightly higher, giving somewhat more headroom and also allowing more air to circulate underneath the tent. And on most 3-season longer trips, I do use trekking poles. Obviously, then they're completely adjustable. But on trips like this, where I'm only out for a night or two, I quite enjoy carrying just the sort of dedicated poles for the tent. I don't need to bring trekking poles on a trip like that. It's just not necessary. Plus, it frees up my hands for shooting video and stuff like that. I personally felt like I had plenty of headroom. There were no issues whatsoever. Obviously, the footage that I'm showing you here kind of demonstrates how much space I have in there. It's kind of cramped, especially coming from the Ultraplex, but for me it's not an issue, and it's a compromise you make for having a small tent with a small pack down size and a really low weight. So as I said in the beginning portion of this video, this is just kind of an initial thoughts video, but I feel pretty well experienced with the One over the past few years of using the Sil-Nylon version to recommend the DCF version. Obviously, you know, if there's interest, I'll do a full review later this year when I have a little bit more time with it. Fingers crossed. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the channel yet, but I should be crossing Iceland in the summer this year with COVID permitting. So definitely hit the subscribe button if you want to see more content kind of geared towards that trip. But then I guess it just comes down to the price difference between the Sil-Nylon version and the DCF version. The Sil-Nylon version costs $299 and the DCF version costs $539. So it is a lot more expensive, and all that for a weight savings of 2.4 ounces, which is 68 grams. It's a lot of money. And DCF versions of, you know, any of these kind of shelters, DCF packs, DCF shelters, they are expensive. Gossamer Gear sent me this tent for testing, but would I spend my own money on it? I would, because I think DCF shelters are worth it. I really do. I think it's a superior material for shelters because you don't have to adjust your tent after you've set it up like you do with Sil-Nylon. You kind of set it up once and it's done. If you're on a budget, then definitely look at the Sil-Nylon version. It's an outstanding tent and you save a good amount of money on it. But yes, I would spend my own money on the DCF version of the One. I absolutely would. So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and you found it helpful. If you are interested in purchasing anything from Gossamer Gear, then I'm going to leave links in the description below. If you purchase something through those links, it really helps support this channel. Obviously, hit that like button. It does really help out, and subscribe to the channel for more videos coming up soon. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.